Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Gaura Timana. Jayam Shripad Paramahamsa. Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace. Terabai Saranaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. ISKCON DVT Founder Saryas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. Harinam Sankirtan ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Nitai Gaur Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurandilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhuktale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Sya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptaka Sanagorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Kanamambi Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraya Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhamyam Swasaya Namahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yadkripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataram. Yadkripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataram. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Perfect timing. We continue from canto number 7, chapter 14, entitled Ideal Family Life. And today we are doing text number 17, 1-7. Na hi agni mukato ayam vai bhagavan sarva yagna bhuk ijesta ijeta havisha rajan yatha vipra mukhe gutai na yagni muk kato yam vai bhagavan sarvajak yabuk Ijeta Hivishara Bhagavan Sarvajagya Bhok Ijeta Habisharajan Yatha Vipramukhe Utai Nayagni Mukato Yambai Bhagavan Sarvajagya Bhok Ijeta Habisharajan Yatha Vipramukhe Utai Nayagni Mukato Yambai Bhagavan Sarvayakna Bhuk Ijeta Habisharajan Yatha Vipramukhe Hutai Not he indeed Agni fire Mukata from the mouth or the flames Ayam this by certainly Bhagavan Lord Sri Krishna Sarvajakya Bhuk the enjoyer of the results of all kinds of sacrifices. Ijeta is worshipped. Havisha by offering of clarified butter. Rajan, O king, yatha, as much as Vipramukhe, through the mouth of a brahmana. Hutai, by offering him first class food. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the enjoyer of sacrificial offerings. Yet, although his lordship eats the oblations offered in the fire, my dear king, he is still more satisfied when nice food made of grains and ghee is offered to him through the mouths of qualified brahmanas. Kindly repeat after me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the enjoyer of sacrificial offerings. Yet although his lordship eats the oblations offered in the fire, my dear king, he is still more satisfied when nice food made of grains and ghee is offered to him through the mouths of qualified brahmanas. Purport. I think all brahmanas will be happy to hear this verse. What is the purport? Purport by Srila Prabhupada, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 3:9, Yagarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. All fruitive activities should be performed for sacrifice, which should be directed toward pleasing Krishna. As stated elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Bhoktaram Jagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheswaram. He is the Supreme Lord and enjoyer of everything. However, although sacrifice may be offered to please Krishna, he is more pleased when grains and ghee, instead of being offered in the fire, are prepared as prasad and distributed first to the brahmanas and then to others. This system pleases Krishna more than anything else. Furthermore, at the present time, there is very little chance to offer sacrifices by pouring oblations of food grains and ghee into the fire. Especially in India, there's practically no ghee. Maybe you have noticed. Especially in India, there's practically no ghee, which is meant to be the land of ghee. For everything that should be done with ghee, people use a certain type of oil preparation. A lot of it comes from Malaysia. Maybe Indonesia also. Oil, however, is never recommended for offering in a sacrificial fire. In Kali Yuga, the available quantity of food grains and ghee is gradually diminishing, and people are embarrassed that they cannot produce different ghee and food grains. Under the circumstances, the Shastras enjoin Jagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. And it says, those who are intellectual offer Jagya or perform sacrifices through the Sankirtan movement. Everyone should join the Sankirtan movement, offering to the fire of this movement the oblations of his knowledge and riches. In our Sankirtan movement or Hare Krishna movement, we offer a sumptuous prasad to the deity and later distribute the same prasad to the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, and then to the people in general. Krishna's prasad is offered to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. And the prasad of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas is offered to the general populace. This kind of sacrifice, chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and distribution of prasad is the most perfect and bona fide way of offering sacrifice for the pleasure of Jagya or Vishnu. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the enjoyer of sacrificial offerings. Yet although his lordship eats the oblations offered in the fire, my dear king, he is still more satisfied when nice food made of grains and ghee is offered to him through the mouths of qualified brahmanas. So there is that very famous verse, Radhananam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param, in a conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati. The question was being asked, who should be worshipped? Who is the supreme to be worshipped? And Lord Shiva began to explain that highest form of worship uh, is to worship Vishnu. But then he qualified that by adding that even higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu are those who are very dear to Vishnu. And of course here the Brahmanas are singled out as being most dear to the Lord. And therefore, as stated here, Krishna becomes even more pleased when his servants, Brahmanas are meant to be the servants of the Lord. They are the ones who, Brahmana means one who cultivates knowledge of Brahman, Brahmana. And the essence of Brahminical knowledge, the essence of transcendental knowledge, Kirtanya Sadahari, is to always glorify the Lord, always serve the Lord. And so, of course, specifically here, there is mention of most important topic, which is, as pointed out by Srila Prabhupada, very much in scarcity in Kali Yuga. Grains and ghee, even in a place like India, where there's still large number of cows, but there is a severe scarcity of grains and ghee. So Prabhupada is pointing out how the solution in these times of scarcity is to especially take shelter of the Jagya for the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Jagya. Now some devotees may conclude, see, this verse is telling we just have to chant Hare Krishna. Why you talk so much about Varnasrama? Prabhupada is telling here in many other places also. Kalo nasyeva gatir anyata. There's nothing else. Haven't you read those verses? Don't you understand those verses? So while Prabhupada is telling this, at the same time he's telling that in our centers we offer nice foodstuff, grains with ghee, and and we offer to the Lord, which is meant to be offered to the Brahmanas, to the Vaishnavas, and then after to the general population. In the early days of our movement, and I remember that standard because I was following that standard also. There was only ghee in our temples. Of course, we didn't have cows Most of our temples, being in the cities, we didn't have cows, but we would make ghee. Not the most ideal, because we would the way we would make ghee, the way I would make ghee was you buy like 50 pounds of butter. You go in the supermarket, you buy 50 pounds of butter, and then you put that in the big container, and you melt your butter slowly, gradually. You make your ghee. It's very fascinating how ghee is made, how the end product, because it takes many hours if one does it properly. If one wants to make ghee Bengali style, it takes a very short time, because here in Bengal, people like ghee that's a little bit burnt. They have this kind of ghee here. It's like ghee by nature is golden in color, golden, like the golden avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ghee is golden color, very clear, and immediately when one makes ghee at home, the aroma immediately permeates the entire house. It's just like, the smell of ghee is like, it's very sweet. It's very, it's very nice. So Prabhupada actually mentioned how we should not put anything else in our body other than ghee. And one devotee sent me a short article which was taken from Prabhupada's Back to Godhead magazine, maybe way back in 1950 or something. Prabhupada started, as we know, his Back to Godhead magazine, 1944, 2 years before I was born. And the devotee, he found a small article. I mean, all the articles were written by Srila Prabhupada, explaining about the ill effects of oil. At that time, Prabhupada was pushing, promoting, explaining, trying to alert. And we know how commercial oil, this is especially important for any Matajis who might be hearing this, and for that matter, any Prabhu, because the end result is that Prabhus will eat what Matajis offer. If you're Mataji, if you're married, then this chapter is dedicated especially for householder, ideal family life. So if you're in family life, both husband and wife need to deepen their understanding of this, what is being conveyed in this verse here. And ghee is the actual standard. Krishna takes only ghee preparations. And why does Krishna take only ghee? Because humans also should only take ghee preparations. One of the main causes of so many diseases and cancer, including cancer in modern day society, is taking ghee. Because there's a scientific explanation how, like I was mentioning a few minutes ago, ghee, normally to make ghee, it would take me at least 3-4 hours to make ghee. I mean, not that you just stand there, but yeah, of course you have to be attentive, because making of ghee is kind of like practically a transcendental experience. Because what happens is that all of the different impurities, we call impurities. Anyone made ghee here before? You've made ghee? No, my God. 50% of your life is wasted. Everyone should at least once in your lifetime have that experience of making ghee, you know. So it's like we know butter. I mean, traditionally, that's how also they would they would make the natural way by from milk making yogurt, and then from yogurt churning the yogurt, and you get butter. That's a natural way of making ghee, which is totally. It's like, my God, a thing of the past, right? Sometimes you see pictures. Oh, it looks very nice, yeah. But actually, in some of our gurukulas, some of the boys are making. We are gradually reintroducing how to make, and some of our householders also. We have one couple in Maharashtra reintroducing how to make ghee. So what happens is that the butter, of course, butter that the ideal way of making ghee is, of course, by having our own cows and making our own from the milk of those cows, making yogurt, and then from yogurt, churning that yogurt, then getting butter, and then from that butter has to be on a very low flame, has to be heated. So depending on the quality, there's two types of butter available. Used to be, I don't know now. One is called salted butter and one is unsalted. Naturally, you make ghee with unsalted butter. Unsalted butter. But even in the unsalted butter, when at a low flame, when your butter starts to melt, then it becomes like liquid, obviously, and then slowly, and it takes time, And nowadays people don't have time, so of course they don't have butter also, and they don't know the actual technique. So slowly, what happens is that you start seeing some what we call impurities come up to the top. It's like foam, you can say, yeah. Slowly, tuk, 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 and then you don't throw that away. That's also good. You use it for making different vegetables, sabzi, yeah. And then, if it's kept at a low flame, at some point, then pretty well all the impurities, and you're left with just like crystal clear golden ghee, and it's like a miracle. And then I would be thinking when I was making the ghee, this is probably what needs to happen in our hearts, in in practicing spiritual life, in practicing devotional service. The abhadras, that is there in the Shastra. Srinvatam swakatha Krishna punya sravana kirtana rijantastoya badrani vidunoti suritsatam. All of the impurities need to come out from the heart. And then our original consciousness, our original understanding will be there. So, so ghee is very, very important. Prabhupada attracted and captured. He captured so many conditioned souls in the early days by of course, personally himself, cooking and making different preparations. And in all of our temples, of course, we introduce that. Now, unfortunately, in many places, that standard has come down. And what is referred to here, of course, is an actual homa, fire sacrifice. ghee is offered to the fire, to the flames. Flames are compared to uh, the, the demigods. Different demigods accept, and the Lord accepts the oblations in this way. Um, so even to follow what is being recommended here in terms of preparing in our temples, we need these two ingredients: grains that are pure. That's also practically impossible to find, isn't it? Grains that are grown without pesticides, natural grains. We call organic organic grains, natural grains, and pure ghee. Uh, um, these are like the uh, this is a wealth actually of a farmer, the wealth of someone who's having land. Mm. When we would visit villages, uh, it was quite amazing. Uh, People in India, in the villages, at least some 40 years ago, still there, I'm sure, in many places. If they have any guests, they would only serve rice that is steaming hot. The steam had to be there. Otherwise, they would not serve that rice. Just like Prabhupada would explain that drinking milk means drinking hot milk. So hot that you can't drink it as you drink water. You have to zip it. The proper way of drinking milk. You have to zip it. You don't drink milk like you drink water. Of course, milk is also like rare. So, so in the villages, they would offer, they would make sure that the rice is very hot, and then they would take out from some hidden place they were hiding small bottle of ghee, and it was like it's like gold. Actually, ghee is gold. Uh, they would open, they would take a few drops. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but if you have hot rice, I mean steaming rice, and you put some of this ghee, it just like melts in. And the aroma also is like, it's like you're ready to honor that ghee or that rice, you know. So there's a whole biological and psychological dimension in preparing foodstuff. Beginning, that's why in the early days also our standard in the kitchen was extremely high. Only brahmanas, only second initiated devotees. And I think I mentioned this a few times in the one of the first temples I was visiting, which was in Montreal. All of the prabhus and the matajis, not only they were wearing something on their head, but like in Manipur, they were wearing, even though it was not COVID time, a mask. The pre-COVID. Yeah, because the level of, cleanliness. Prabhupada emphasized again and again how cleanliness and punctuality are the two special qualities for brahmanas. If somebody claims to be a brahmana or wants to be a brahmana, these two qualities are essential. High level of cleanliness and very regulated. very alert to the time factor. Things begin on time, things finish on time, etc. So, of course, for us as devotees now to actually prepare to come to this standard that is being referred to here in terms of preparing items with pure food grains and also pure ghee, at least on a small scale, we need to have these farm communities, isn't it? Who else will grow pure food? Huh. Pure food, actually, this was nicely explained. One of the, I think it was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in one purport to the verse, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Actually, this came to my attention some time back. He was mentioning how the real purport, the real meaning of Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Krishna advises, I am pleased if one simply offers me a little water, a little leaf, a little flower. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was nicely explaining that actually this verse means that we should offer such foodstuffs that are actually grown by the hands of devotees. Actual standard, it's not that you just go to the store and buy organic food. It's better than non-organic food, but even better than so-called, labeled organic food is food that is grains that are sown in the soil by the hands of devotees who understand that actually I'm giving an opportunity to this living entity that's in this seed. One of our devotees, Balabhadra Prabhu, he was the minister for agriculture and cow protection for many, many years. He would go to temples to give lectures sometimes. And many of the temples didn't have too many devotees. He would ask, how many devotees do you have here? There was 7 or 5, 6 devotees. He would go to especially rural projects to encourage them and to teach them. He was very knowledgeable about cow protection and also about agriculture. So with that, how many devotees? Oh, we have only 6 devotees. You sure? Yeah, we have only 6 devotees. No. That, in your garden, how many tomato plants you have? Bhakta tomato. You have so many bhaktas, he was in that consciousness that all these living entities who are taking shelter in your land, who are growing, they're all devotees. And when those seeds are sown by the hands of devotees, when the water is poured by the hands of devotees, when those crops are taken by the hands of devotees with care, with love, with devotion, when they are cleaned nicely by the hands of devotees, when they are cut and prepared by the hands of devotees, when they are offered on the altar with tulsi leaves by the hands of devotees with love and devotion, that is what Krishna likes. That is the topmost level. And that is the real meaning of Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Where are we? Isn't it?
I just understood about that,
but
I have seen long time. Not to actually, this tomato is also about
yeah,
because they will.
they're serving. Yeah, they're serving the Lord. Yeah.
Super. This is really good.
Yeah, this is called Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means tomato conscious. Means cow conscious, milk conscious, all these things.
Yeah.
Yesterday, actually, I didn't see yet because yesterday one of our devotees, proper disciple, who she is a wife of our Devat Prabhu in Sharanagati.
Yeah.
She's a doctor, homeopathic doctor actually. She's been helping a lot here in Mayapur also. She's coming back soon. So she was invited to give a talk on a very well-known uh, podcast, where they interview different people. Namras, very popular uh, podcast. And the name of her, because she wrote a small book about ahimsa milk. As a matter of fact, she has her book is sold on Amazon. I'll just give a small plug for her book, and it is called Bhakti Milk. Bhakti Milk, and she gave a talk. I have not heard it yet on this podcast, and I think it's probably available now. I might listen to it when I finish my puja. Bhakti Milk. Everything should be bhakti. Tomatoes are bhakta tomatoes. Everything we produce with that consciousness by the hands of devotees, this is bhakti. And this is what Krishna, this is what all the residents of Braja Bhumi, they are on that level. They're on that level. And this is the level where Krishna becomes pleased and satisfied. Devotees, they understand, they're able to understand how to please Krishna by coming to that standard. This is a real standard. So, so these things, they need to go hand in hand. Yes, the chanting of the holy name, Sankirtan Jagya, is the Jagya for the age of Kali. But to offer to Krishna foodstuff, we need to offer it from as pure sources as possible. And the ideal way to do that is by our own devotees having their own land and having not hired people, having our own devotees looking after our land, having our own devotees looking after our cows. It's like in family life, when you have children, the actual standard, natural standard is that you look after your own children. Of course, nowadays, that's also changed. From, as soon as the kid starts crawling, he's crawling on somebody else's lap. Somebody else is looking after him. Mommy, who's my mommy? Because mommy and daddy have to work, so they have no time. It's a no time civilization. So we need to hear and to know, to understand what is actually the standard, and that's all given, of course, by the example in Vrindavan. So therefore, simultaneously, it is not that we just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That is there, but we chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And Prabhupada would say, after chanting and dancing, then you take prasadam. So, but that prasadam doesn't fall from the sky. That prasadam is meant to be prepared with love and devotion by the hands of devotees from the seed, from ahimsa seeds, original seeds, isn't it? Therefore, we have practically this. practically completely destroyed the natural system that Krishna has given to us. And that's why we have, as a result, created so much of havoc all over the world. So therefore, it is not simply something sentimental. It is having, when we do this, then we, on the physical level, we become more healthy, isn't it? By eating, by honoring food that is in the mode of goodness, food that is pure, food that is prepared by ghee, that is grown by the hands of devotees, that is offered with love and devotion by the hands of devotees, then we become healthy both materially and spiritually, isn't it? Physically, we will be more healthy uh, because we're eating natural, wholesome food, um, and not just ordinary food, but food that is also offered to the Lord. And Krishna, naturally, because that food is offered to him, that pure food is offered to him with love and devotion, also becomes pleased and happy, and naturally will want to reciprocate with his devotees. So anyone, even somebody living in an apartment, you can have your own bhakta tomato there also. Sometimes devotees, they'll, oh my God, I didn't know that so many tomatoes are coming out of just one seed, one plant.
And that is the real investment.
That is a real investment. Yes, not the stock market. Stock market can crash anytime, and will crash. But Krishna's natural, that is natural economy. Best investment, much more than any other kind of investment. Best investment is in seed, in land, land, knowledge, cows, as we mentioned the other day also. So any comments or questions on this? Therefore, back to basics, back to nature, back home, back to Godhead.
Very interesting. The real investment is seed.
Yes.
Because by planting seed, one seed can grow 10 or more.
Yes.
Then if
hundreds.
we plant again,
yes,
keep multiplying.
Yes, yes.
Then naturally some extra will be there.
Yes.
And whatever extra, we can distribute freely.
Yes. Whatever extra is there, just like, I'll give you a small example because it's part of my research, just winding up. But I was reading how in Hungary, one of the questions I ask is, what percentage of self-sufficiency are you in grains, in vegetables, fruits, and oil? I'll share this with you right now. It's very interesting. I was just compiling that yesterday because there's so much of data to look at. So anyways, amongst the 10 different communities, one of them was Genbe, Gitanagari Baru. Genbe is scoring pretty good, I mean, compared to many others, but the highest in terms of grain production was actually in Hungary. They are producing, the devotee who filled up the questionnaire, he says, we're producing 10 times 100%. 10 times 100%. Yeah, 100% means what you need for your community. They're producing 10 times more than they need for grains. That is the point you're making.
Yeah.
From grains, we get surplus.
Yeah.
You get surplus that you can actually distribute. But so for grains, only 2 or 3 of those 10 communities were doing good. I mean, the best one, of course, was Hungary. Second best actually was in Ukraine. Because Ukraine land is very fertile. And as we were discussing the other day, actually, so many countries are depending on the grains from Ukraine. Depending on the grains from Ukraine. And of course, because of the war now, many countries will not get this grain from Ukraine. And therefore, they will suffer. Yeah. So, and the third, I think, was GNB. In grains? No, in vegetables, because they're not producing grains. They could be, but they're not.
Yeah.
You know.
And now they're producing. Today, Sudeva Prabhu will harvest his rice. Sudeva.
He will have what?
Rice.
Rice.
Yeah.
Oh.
3 devotees working together. They get newly a land nearby.
Okay.
They are planting. And just
planting for rice.
Today he will harvest.
So they're harvesting.
Yes.
Harvesting today. And then in the question, how much, what percentage of sustainability are you in oil, cooking oil? Everybody except one. Everybody said 0. And one said 100%. Ukraine. Yamuna Prantu. Because we have so many cows.
Yes.
And making ghee, making butter, and selling and providing to the temple. Well, now maybe not because of the situation, but he was providing all the milk and the ghee. You know, whenever he comes to India, he brings ghee, pure ghee, you know, from his cows. So this is the real wealth, you know. And we think that because we have money in the bank that we are wealthy. This is not wealth. Okay, I think we have to close. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaurav Himanandi.